Let's get ready to rumble!
Hey.
Hello, and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that asks that question about where should you watch your movies nowadays? Should you leave your house, or is everything that you could ever possibly need or want or imagine available from the comfort of your sofa, and you never have to interact with another human being again? Wondering whether they should be interacting with me on this podcast is Shaun.
Hello there.
And Sharon.
Hello.
All on the Isle of Wight. My name is Tosin, and I am in Coventry in the Midlands. And we are coming to you in the week in which one of our favorite movie stars has found himself in a little bit of a kerfuffle over some comments that he made. This, now, I was listening back to some of the podcasts I've done before, and there was a week where we're talking about it, where Benedict Cumberbatch said something that he would have been wiser to have couched differently. If you guys can remember this, a couple of years back, and now Liam Neeson has gone and said something and gotten himself in such a such a bother that they actually cancelled the premiere of his new film. So because his new film, obviously he was doing press and interviews and all that for his new movie Cold Pursuit, and they were so worried about all the kerfuffle that came out of this, they cancelled the premiere of Cold Pursuit in New York, which I'm like, I can see why they did it, because if not, I think it would have harmed the stuff from the film. But quite frankly, let me put it this way: for what Liam Neeson said, as a black man, I think this is nothing much than a storm in a teacup.
I mean, that's it. It's the context of the thing, isn't it? Really, it was.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll all be blown over. It'll be forgotten about, in it. It'll be like a storm in a teacup. It'll be like well, that's it. Well, I haven't heard anything more about it today, have you?
No, I think yesterday was the highlight of it, right. Or the sort of the furore. But yeah, it's one of those things. Someone can make a comment and then it's taken out of context, and it becomes a huge deal. Because I was watching a program, BBC Breakfast, yesterday, and they were interviewing a man from a university who is Black Studies, I think he does, because it's been Black History Month, and he was saying, "Oh, this is like going back into the past with the days of lynching," and I was just thinking, "Oh, really? I don't think it is. I think this is more akin to the sectarian violence that Liam Neeson grew up surrounded by, rather than racial violence that this man was alluding to."
Okay.
I'm thinking, how are you interpreting, this one man saying, "I was definitely going to go out and find someone to punish for this," to going out and lynching someone?
That happens.
I think it's quite an extreme jump as far as I was concerned.
But they do that, because I remember years ago I was at a party, and it was a guy actually, and I won't say which newspaper. It was one of the newspapers, and he just said, "Have you got any information on anyone that I might work?" And he actually said, I got quite funny with him, and after a few drinks, he was saying they actually have people looking through magazines trying to find, and they read all the articles, and if there's anything that's a little bit controversial, doesn't matter in what context it was said, they will take that small piece and they will say, so and so said that all British people were imperialists or whatever, but they just take that one bit, and the rest of the context of what the article was about,
Yeah, and I think the very point he was making there was that he utterly regrets what he did.
Yes.
And that looking back on it, he can't believe that he did that. You think, so he's full of regret about what he did, and he's full of remorse about what he did. And so they're saying, and this one particular gentleman was saying, "I'm never going to watch one of his films again."
I know.
You think, how is that about? It just seems extreme to me.
Well, I think it's one of those things. I think it's a lot about the way we sort of like take in news nowadays, and the way we look at news nowadays. It's just kind of like it's everybody. Okay, so for instance, people will have their own personal cross to bear, or their own personal crusade that they want to fight, and they will jump on anything that will help it. So I know there's people who are thinking, "Oh yeah, we do have this thing of representation of black people. Liam Neeson said something. Quick, we can use this to further our own aims, and therefore we're going to say, how dare he say this?" Da, 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 da. And there's people who are going to use it and go like, "Yeah, you see this way," and there's people going to be like, "Yeah, you see this is what I've always said about black people. This is the kind of thing they do." And there's going to be people who are going to take it out of context. And the news, and the most annoying thing is the news. I mean, this is an entertainment podcast, right? We talk about entertainment, and the news nowadays is just entertainment. And I think that's what they see themselves as. They see themselves as, we're here to entertain people. So they will follow this story for entertainment and because it was a slow Brexit day or something, and until the next Brexit story comes up, which they're going to blow out of all proportion, and sure enough, along comes Donald Tusk and gives them something that
whoever thought we'd cheer for Donald Tusk.
He's talking to.
I think the good thing about Donald Tusk is that he unites the Leave and the Remain campaign together, in that everyone hates him.
But that's it. That is one thing. But I mean, so there's some sense to what he says, because where were those people that said, they give the 350 million a day to the NHS and all that? They're nowhere to be seen. They're all gone. So they didn't know what they were doing. They just said that, and it's true. No one gave it any thought whatsoever. It's just come out.
Remain.
Yeah.
They're surrounded by Remain. They're all probably from Remain towns and Remain areas, and they assumed that everyone was going to vote Remain.
Yeah, so I suppose
they were going to lose. They assumed they were going to lose the referendum.
Oh, right.
And so when they did win, they were like, "Okay, now what do we do?"
What do we do? Yeah.
But either way. But
it's like Netflix and cinema, isn't it?
Netflix and cinema, one or the other, yeah.
One of the films we're actually going to be talking about today, to prove that I don't totally just throw this stuff together, one of the films we're actually going to be talking about today talks a lot about this whole idea of what's actually happening versus the perception of what's actually happening, and how in the world that we are today, it just kind of like messes the whole thing up. So people will go and they will go so much on the perception of what they think is happening, what somebody has said, as opposed to what's actually going to happen, and actually wanting to find out what's on the floor. So, with that, I know this week Shaun, you've had another beast mode week.
I've had a beast mode, and I even saw Polar. I even watched Polar on your recommendation. Wow. Yeah, that was the other one I was trying to think of. Yeah, and it was good. Right. I really enjoyed it. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, go on. So that was a recommendation of Sharon's from last week.
So just to explain what we mean when we say beast mode, this happens every now and then, and it's usually Shaun. It is usually Shaun who decides, you know what? There's all these films in the world that I have all the time to watch them. It usually happens with cinemas, but now that we've gone to Netflix, it has opened up a whole new can of worms. So, Shaun, do you want to tell us a little bit about your viewing this week? Just in general,
yes, viewing this week.
Specific films.
Well, I just decided, because one of the ones we're going to talk about, one of the rules was a series. I actually watched the series, so back to back, so I made sure I wanted to watch them all. So, and then I decided, some other, obviously you keep getting suggestions, don't you? And I thought, that looks a bit good. I might watch doing that. And so I'd get into it. As mainly Korean stuff, you
watch one Korean film and then get like, oh, hey, you must like Korean film.
And I saw this film called The Revenger, which I really enjoyed. Probably the best martial arts film I've seen for a long time. It's good martial arts. This film just takes place on an island, and basically it's one man, and he sort of helps a few people out against some bad men, really. Okay. That's basically the story of that one.
So far, Bruce Lee.
So it's Bruce Lee. And then this other film I saw was Manhunt, which was a couple of Chinese assassin-y type people, which were general schlocky sort of stuff.
So far, so
good. Yeah. I watched a film called Hurricane, which was about the Battle of Britain, the Czech squadron, the 602 squadron. You want to watch that? Yeah. Well, we'll save that one then, and we can watch that one, and you can give me your views on that. Yeah, that was interesting. So you've seen that?
I haven't seen it yet, but I do want to watch that.
So
I can wrestle the remote control away from a member of my family. I shall try to watch that.
And I saw Polar.
Yes, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yeah, I know. Which that comes in again, which I really enjoyed. I would give that. You gave that a 4.
I think I gave it a 3 for content and 4 for entertainment value.
Yeah, I'd probably go with you on that. So that was a good recommendation. And I started watching a couple of like documentary type things. One was like Know Your Enemy, which was an old World War II film about Japan, whatever. But I watched a little bit of that, and I've sort of flipped. So I flipped with a few as well, with a few as well.
Yeah.
So like you do. So I've got all this list of continue watching. But so that was all good fun. But as I say, a marathon, the series, and our rule of watching. I thought that's it. I've got to watch all this.
So okay, let's just go back over the rules that we set for the show for anybody who this might be the first thing that they've heard. So we're going to take 6 films, 3 cinema film, or 3 things in the cinema, 3 things in Netflix. So if you're going to watch something on Netflix, it has to be something you haven't seen before. We want to get as many Netflix originals in there. And if you're going to watch a TV series, you have to have finished watching the TV series by the time you talk about it on the show. So you can't come in and say, I saw the first 2 episodes of Sherlock and I'm going to talk about that. No, you have to watch the whole series, let the story finish, so we can compare it to a film in which the story hopefully has finished. Or in the case of The Snowman, it's like, the story that never started.
I must say another one which you like, because it's got the Black Panther starring, and it was called
Chadwick
Boseman, and it was a film called, I think it's a couple of years old, called A Message from the King.
A Message from the King, where he plays a South African.
Yeah, he's South African, and he goes over to. Have you seen that, Tosin?
No, I've seen the things, but I wasn't that interested.
Oh, right, okay. Well, it's pretty good. It's a 3-star one. So that was another thing I watched. I just remembered.
It's okay. So we're gonna, and every week we're gonna bring forward, pretty much each one of us, the way it works out is gonna bring an offering from cinema and an offering from Netflix. So I'm gonna kick off this week with my first offering from cinema, something that's in the cinemas this week that you can go watch, and it is How to Train Your Dragon 3. Or to give it its proper title, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. Now, seeing as this was an animation movie, I was pretty sure that I was the only one who was going to watch this.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I know Shaun, you will watch them. Sharon will just go like, no!
One a year, I think, Sharon. Maybe 2.
My rule is normally
to
1
2.
a year. Yeah. I haven't watched 2 in a 1 year for a long time.
Just imagine Sharon is like, no, you can't make me. Why?
I was like, yes, Shrek. I was just like, I'm not going to see it. I won't. And then my friend said, our friendship depends upon it. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll go then. And then I quite liked it.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to be dragged in on the promise of, chocolate ice cream and, favours. Of undisclosed nature.
Favours. I like that word, favours. Conjures up a lot of things, doesn't it?
It all depends on your mind. I'm thinking sweets, but you may think something else.
Yeah. Right, okay.
Well, okay, so this is so How to Train Your Dragon. So in the world of animation, the king is Pixar. The one that is head and shoulders above everybody else is Pixar. And you have other animation studios like DreamWorks, and you have Illumination who do the Minion stuff. So Shrek's was DreamWorks, and possibly the closest that anybody has ever gotten to Pixar levels was the first Shrek movie, I think, and more notably the How to Train Your Dragon, the first movie. And that's just Sharon, if you can stomach it, it is a brilliant story. I absolutely love the first How to Train Your Dragon movie about this village called Burke, which it's nondescript. It's not really in our world, but you can see that they're supposed to be Vikings. They keep calling themselves Vikings. However, all the adults speak with Scottish accents, led by Gerald Butler, and all the kids speak with American accents, led by Jay Baruchel's Hiccup. And a boy finds this dragon, and then it's all about coming up with this utopia between dragons and humans. And this film is supposed to be the culmination of a trilogy that has come up and everything like that. And it's weird because I feel like DreamWorks don't particularly know how to do trilogies that well, I don't think, because each film gets progressively not as good. The same thing happened with Kung Fu Panda. I'm not sure. Have you guys seen the Kung Fu Panda movies?
No.
Nope.
Okay, all right, cool. First one's awesome. Quite like the second one. The third one's a mess. And this film is not quite a mess, but it has a problem with which I've started thinking that if you're going to have a trilogy, good trilogies only really work when you don't kill the bad guy.
Yes, you've got to have a protagonist and an anti-hero, haven't you, really?
Yeah, that carry the way throughout each film. Because the first How to Train Your Dragon movie didn't really have a bad guy. I was thinking about it, I was like, actually, the film doesn't have a bad guy. It's all about these people who think you're supposed to kill dragons, and someone trying to convince them, no, we can actually live with dragons, we're supposed to just kill them all the time. and that's the story about it. It's got a nice simple story. And the second one, they go, okay, now we've got to move somewhere. So they introduce a bad guy, but then they kill the bad guy off. And then you go, okay, cool, let's go another film. Now we have a whole new bad guy to introduce, and we have to give you his motivation and his backstory and where he comes from and all that kind of stuff. And it just so feels like, okay, we've been here before. And this film feels as if it covers a lot of the same ground that the second one did. And I mean, even the whole idea of a hidden world of dragons, it seems like, I was like, didn't they do that in the second one, or was I missing something? But, so it's...
Aren't they based on a series of books, though? Aren't the films based on a series of books, or have they sort of inspired one another? I mean, you would have thought if they were book-based, they'd have a bit more of a coherent storyline.
They're book-based. It's a series of books by a lady called Cressida Cowell, but even the first film diverged quite a lot from what she did.
Okay.
So, but I'll tell you one thing. The secret weapon of this series is the lead dragon. And the lead dragon is a marvel, an absolute marvel of animation. He's a black dragon called Toothless, who is like the cutest thing ever. If anybody loves cats, they will fall in love with Toothless. And he is just so expressive and everything. And the central relationship between you know how we saw Bumblebee a while back, and people were talking about Bumblebee, the relationship between the girl and the car is what really sort of drives that film. And the relationship between the dragon and the boy is what drives this entire series. Having said that, I think the animation's great. I think the acting is great. F. Murray Abraham shows up, and he does a really... I think he's doing a Christoph Waltz impression as the bad guy in this film. Because
that's quite fun.
Yeah, for ages in this film, I thought it was Christoph Waltz. I was like, who's that voice? I was trying to place the voice and I couldn't. And the way they've animated the bad guy, he looks a little bit like... Think about Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, kind of like there's bits where his facial expressions and everything and the way he goes about and I'm like, this looks like Christoph Waltz in Inglourious Bastards. But I think the animators are absolutely brilliant actors. So I think the film is good. It has some good bits. It doesn't quite hold together. It's not a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy, but I think that's more a case of the way they formed everything. Like, if you want to see how to do a trilogy, look at Toy Story. And in Toy Story, you could argue they didn't really have like a big overarching bad guy. They didn't have like a bad guy that they introduced every single... Well, I'm getting confused here. Anyway, Toy Story is better.
Toy Story is better.
If you want to do an animation trilogy, look at Toy Story. Unfortunately, this doesn't get anywhere close to that, and I would give this 3 out of 5 stars.
3. Okay, 3's all right. 3's reasonable.
3's not bad for an animation.
Yeah, three's not... Sharon. Yeah. Prejudice. Absolute prejudice.
I must admit that the artwork, the dragons, the actual dragons themselves do look quite, from the artwork of the poster and stuff.
Yes.
It looks, I can understand it's, it does look quite sort of nice. That's a word, nice. That's it.
That's nice.
Yes, nice. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. That's like when they have plus word, really, isn't it? Nice.
When they have all those posters. You know those posters that they have on films, and they put like quotes from reviews. Can you imagine that? Review? How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. That's nice.
That's nice. Oh dear.
No, it does look good, but the problem is when you see the first, it's a bit like Pitch Perfect is another one. When you see the first one, the first Pitch Perfect is like a perfectly formed film. It is awesome.
Yes.
And by the third one, you just feel like they have lost the plot. They don't know what they're doing.
It's like, just sing, just sing and forget about the plot.
Yeah, it's like they don't know what they're doing anymore. They obviously like hanging around each other, which is why they made this film. Yeah. But besides that, they don't have they've lost the plot, and it's it's not as bad as this, but it's kind of like, I feel like the story they wanted to tell was a story in the first film. And after they told the story in the first film, it was like, where do we go from here? What other stories are left? So unfortunately, I would give that a 3 out of 5.
Okay, cool.
Right, cool. And so I'm guessing that, Sharon, you'll be watching that? Shaun, watching it?
Possibly. I won't rush. I don't think. But, maybe if something comes up.
Wait for Netflix to get it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let us swiftly move on to our first Netflix movie of the week, and this, Sharon, is Extinction that you saw. And
Yes.
tell us the story of how you came to actually see Extinction. How do you came to choose this film?
Well, it's one of the we recommend you watch this film because you've watched this film. So I'd watched a number of science fiction films over the last sort of month since I've had Netflix. So I've seen like Bird Box, and I saw one that we hadn't reviewed called Orbiter 9, which is a Spanish science fiction film, and I'd seen just a few others. And so they just said, because you've watched these, you may like this one. And I sat and watched the trailer. And so I was with my brother at the time, and we said, "Oh, let's just watch this one, shall we?" Yeah. And so basically, it's a little bit derivative. You think you've seen similar elements to this film, but then I think it's got some interesting things that happen later on. But the basic premise, it's set. We don't know when it's set. It doesn't come up with in the year whatever. It's set in you feel that it's slightly ahead of us, and it's the main character is played by Michael Pena, and he is married with 2 children, and he works in this factory that we don't know what it makes, but he works there as a sort of maintenance guy, and you often see him tinkering around, and his wife's like an architect. And you see them, and he keeps having these strange dreams that are almost sort of prophetic in that he sees, death, destruction and sort of fire from above, basically. And then one day all these visions appear to come true, but not quite as he'd seen them. And it's this because you don't get to see the sort of the baddies, but it's this apparently is an alien invasion where these invaders are hell-bent on the extinction of life on Earth. Oh, and then the story progresses and you see various things going on, and there's some interesting twists and turns along the way. Yeah. So you do think it's slightly derivative of things like Battle Los Angeles, and is it Skyline.
Skyline,
yeah.
Skyline, which everybody hates, but I like.
Yeah. In some ways, it's you can see how they've been influenced by some of these films, but I think there's enough twists, and the performances are quite convincing, and there's enough, I think, to sort of confound you at certain points where you go, "Whoa, I didn't see that coming."
Cool.
So it's an interesting sort of play on a familiar sort of trope, as it were. Yeah.
Well, the funny thing about this is you said that you watched this because it was the only thing you said it was the only thing your brother would let you watch, pretty much.
Yes, more or less. He's had he's been off sick this week, so he's had possession of the remote control. And the few times I sat down to say, "Do you want? Can we watch it?" It's like, "Oh no, I've already seen it." Or, "Can we watch?" "Oh no, I'm watching this now." And this was the only one where I actually was there for the beginning of a film, and it's like, "Oh, can we watch that one?"
Oh, right. So you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it with my brother.
Yeah. Because the funny thing is, like, I've seen this film, but I saw it over my brother's shoulder as well. Because I was at my brother's house. He can sometimes, he just sort of like, I think it must be a father thing. He's like, "Okay, cool. They're all to bed. I just need to watch something. He watched the trailer. Yeah, that seems good enough. That seems distracting enough, and he put it on. You're being very good and being about not letting on what this twist is. And I think the twist in this film is quite clever. Yes. I think it's quite a clever film that you watch it and you're like, ooh, when you see where they're going, you're like, oh yeah, now that is actually different. That is quite good. But I have to admit, as the film went on towards the end, I thought it started dragging. I thought this film I just thought it started dragging, and I was like, oh, come on, get to where you're going already.
Yes, the way they ended it, I fear they may try to do another one. So, because I like some of these sort of films, I'd rather they tie them up and sort it all out. But they left it with enough to go on thinking, oh, they might be back. But I thought had they had a more of a definite ending, I think I probably would have rated it. I haven't rated it yet, but my rating might have been higher.
Right.
But I thought it was. I thought of its type. I thought, yeah, they've done it well. It's within sort of almost set limitations, isn't it? You know where you stand with certain science fiction. But no, I certainly enjoyed it for what it was.
Cool. So, how many stars would you give it?
I would give it a 3 star.
3 stars.
And I would agree with you. I actually think from what I saw of the film and all that, it's like I do think it has this big reveal, but the big reveal comes kind of early on because you still have probably about 45 minutes left by the time the big reveal happens.
Yes. Is there much action in it? Is it much in the way of action, or is it sort of more suspense?
Shooting, running,
there's lots of shooting and running.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Sounds more interesting.
I'll tell you what it's like.
I wondered if it was going to be a real slow one, but when you said Battle for Los Angeles, I thought, oh well, yeah.
Yeah, it keeps moving.
Yeah, what are you going to say, Toes? Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say it's a bit like one of those city invasion films where they've taken over a city and now we've got to fight back and we've got to and so things are blowing up all around you as people are trying to run from point A to point B. That kind of action.
Right. So okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So it might be up my street a little bit then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
It might be. It might be. Yeah.
Well, 3 stars is okay. A 3-star recommendation is pretty good. So that would be one that maybe put on when there's loads of stuff.
I think again the twist is enough to make you go, oh, that's actually is an interesting take on a familiar story.
Yeah. Yeah, I just feel like all they had was the twist, and then after that, it was like they didn't really.
They didn't really go much with after that. But no, it was it was a solid 3.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So moving on from that, we'll go into the next movie that we're going to talk about this evening. Now we go back to cinema. See what cinema has to offer. How cinema has to sort of had to fend off the ever-growing hordes of Netflix content, and we have Can You Ever Forgive Me? And now this is if I'm correct, so I haven't seen this. The two of you have,
yes.
And from what I understand, this is Melissa McCarthy in I am an actor mode.
Yes, she's
Shaun,
not doing her usual.
Yeah, I can take this one if you like. I can take this one. Melissa McCarthy. I think to start off, when I went with the audience, when we first went in. And it was quite busy, and there was a few laughs to start with because she's just very deadpan, you know. So, and then gradually as the film went on, I thought, and I found, and I think the audience as well became more sort of could relate to her more as a, the comedian bit was sort of still there, very dry, but it was totally different to what she normally plays, to what you was expecting. So I don't know if Sharon wants to give you a little bit about the story there.
It's a story of a writer who I personally had never heard of, but she was at one time a New York Times best-selling author. Her name is Lee Israel, but they call it Israel, which I always find a bit strange, but Lee Israel, we'll call her. And she has sort of fallen off of the bestseller list by some margin, and she's sort of been writing slightly obscure biographies, but she is very good at writing biographies. You can really identify and get behind the lives of these people that she writes about. But she's become unemployed because she's one of these people who is socially isolated. She doesn't make friends easily. She has no empathy, so she's rude to people. She burns her bridges continually. People who might have helped her, she's sort of offended them once too often. She's abrasive. So she's someone who is a real sort of social loner. So when she loses her job and she's in danger of losing her apartment, she's got no one to turn to. And so she finds one of her prized possessions that she decides to sell is a letter to her after she wrote her best-selling book from Katharine Hepburn. And she goes into a ephemera shop, like books and ephemera, and she sells it, and she gets quite a lot of money for this letter, enough to keep her going. And then when she's researching for one of her biographies, she comes across another letter from someone famous, and again, she pinches it, and then she sells that, and again she gets quite a bit of money. And the comment that someone makes was, you'd get more for this if it was a bit more personal, or if it was a bit more contextualized, so it links in with a book or links in with something personal, you'd get much more money. And then basically she starts writing her own.
Yeah, she writes them all and forges a signature, basically, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And of course, so she does all this, and of course, some people this is really personal. This is really good
stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Get some money, but then she becomes a bit of reputation, and so she has to get someone else to sort of help. So along comes Richard E. Grant.
Yeah, who's like a sort of drinking acquaintance, isn't he? She's the closest thing she's got to a friend. She hasn't got any friends, and he's the closest.
They're both pretty abusive.
But they're both awful.
Yeah, they're both awful people. But but it's quite funny. And Richard, I don't know if anyone has ever seen With Nail and I.
Yeah.
But so in this, I mean, Richard E. Grant plays. In fact, he's a really good character in this, and he's a good parry, I think, to Melissa, and. He plays especially a drunken sop, isn't he? Really, but he's very witty with it. Very charming. He's got that charm. So he's
is it a bit like if Withnail had grown up?
Probably a little bit like that. If he moved to America, you can imagine him being this way.
Got sort of sunk into the seedier side of New York in the 1990s.
Yeah, funny enough, they were talking about this film on the film program, which was on about 4:00 on Radio 4. They was actually had an interview. Did you listen at all?
No.
And it was Richard E. Grant, and he was talking. It's really worth listening to if they.
Yes, they're both real people. So obviously they have the inspiration for the real people.
And I didn't realise he is totally teetotal.
Richard E. Grant.
He is.
He is. So, I mean, I didn't know that one, but he doesn't touch a drop of alcohol, and yet he's so good at playing these slightly inebriated people. So and he is good. The characters in this are great, aren't they? Really?
They are, because it's hard to identify with someone who has no redeeming features.
That's it.
And yet somehow you do with both of them. They do appalling things. And there's one point where they're like stealing from like a museum or something. Yeah. And you're going, that's just appalling.
That is appalling. And they are just not nice people, are they? But in some way.
But you identify. Because I think you begin through this prism of what these awful things they're doing. You begin to understand what motivates them both a little bit, don't you?
Yes, yeah.
That definitely. They are socially isolated. Yeah. They sort of got this weird relationship. This friendship, though it isn't really that, because they don't trust each other, they don't really like each other. So they are drawn to each other.
They are, yeah.
And I think for the same reason, we don't like them, we don't identify with them, but somehow you are drawn with them. And when they, I don't want to say too much about the plot, but you do feel for them in the most bizarre way.
You do, yeah. It is. It does give you that strange, bizarre way. Indeed, yeah.
Well, but I'm guessing because this is based on a real life story. So as you said that they're going around forging all these things and selling them. I mean, seeing this is based on a real life story, I get a feeling that it's like, I would be going into this film thinking, they obviously don't get away with it, but eventually it's going to crash down around their ears. And even in the trailer, it lets you know, it kind of goes wrong.
Yes, they do get their comeuppance.
Yeah, they do. Don't they, really?
Yeah, I was just going to say, what you say about the characters, it seems to come across because both Richard E. Grant and Melissa McCarthy are both nominated at the Oscars.
Yeah, it's got loads
for this.
So, it's not just that; they've got awards from all over the world. All over the world, he said he spent like 2 weeks just jetting to this festival and that festival and to Cannes and here and the other. He said he's only ever been nominated for one.
I think this film has taken a lot of people by surprise. I think it was probably made of quite a restricted budget, and I think they've just made it as like a character piece, really. And I think it's taken people by surprise at how people have responded to it. Mm. And after every now and then, this sort of film comes out of nowhere, doesn't it? And you sort of go, because I wasn't sure about watching this film, but one of my friends went to see it last weekend, and she texted me and said, "I think you should go and see this film." So we were rained off work one day this week, so I went to see it.
That's brilliant. I mean, that's like Leave No Trace. That came out of nowhere, really, and that top film. So these films, they sort of come from nowhere. I mean, I didn't really know much about it, to be honest with you, and I just thought, I think it was a Sunday night or something, or was it one night? And I just thought, I better do something I've watched so much stuff on Netflix. I better go. Monday, I better go to the cinema. What's on? There wasn't a lot on, so I thought, we'll give this one a go. And pleasantly surprised. I mean, there's been a few ones like that.
My friends, well, that's why I saw it.
Okay, sure. Shaun, to continue how we kicked off with in a little bit of a political bent. You said that this film. You mentioned another film that you didn't really know about, Leave No Trace. That was that you end up quite liking.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether this has anything to do with it, but
No, it doesn't.
enough,
but it was just. I think
no. I meant like I'm not sure whether the point I'm about to make has anything to do with it, but both films have female directors, which might, and some people would say that's probably why they flew under the radar because they weren't pushed as much.
Oh right, okay, all right. Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
both of them.
And both films have been mentioned because this year again at the Oscars they don't have all the nominees for Best Director are men, and both Leave No Trace and Can You Ever Forgive Me have been mentioned. Going okay, cool. If it was in a year where we did not have some excellent films directed by women, no problem. But look at these! Look at these!
Yeah.
It's like she directed 2 people to Oscar-nominated performances, and she gets nothing.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that was just on the side.
Yeah,
so it sounds like you guys quite liked it.
That's interesting. Yes. Yes, I did.
Yeah. And it sounds like you guys you think it deserves all the hype it gets.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it's not for the faint-hearted in some aspects. The language is quite brutal, and some of the content is a little bit, eyebrow raising. But it's good film for all that.
Yeah.
So, what would you rate it, Shaun?
Well, I'd have to give this one a 4.
I would agree. I would give this a 4.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I have to admit, I do think Melissa McCarthy is an excellent actress, and I think she should do more dramatic stuff because she's awesome.
Yeah, she's definitely got the chops for it.
Yeah, I did see her in a film. It must have been one of her early films where she plays like someone who works in like a store, and I think it was just a name. It was I'm not sure what it was, but I think it must have been an early movie. And she's like she just works in a store. Tammy, I think Tammy. That would have been it, Tammy. So
Tammy.
Is it Tammy?
That's the one with her and Susan Sarandon.
Oh right, okay.
That's a grandmother.
That's a grandmother. Oh right, well that was a good one. I like that one. So I'm not sure what the other one was then. Anyway, but she's quite versatile, really. Yeah. But I think people went in.
She really is.
Yeah, as I say, when I went in, I think the perception was that this film was going to be a bit funny, and there were a couple of things when she said that there was a few laughs.
Such outrageous things.
Outrageous things, yeah. But as time goes on, people became, really, So good movie.
Cool. Good stuff. So, okay, cool. And now we're halfway through. Now onto our 4th film. Now we go back to Netflix. And on Netflix, I watched this week Fire, The Greatest Party That Never Happened.
All right, I saw that on there.
Seen the trailer for this. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see the trailer, but...
It's F-Y-R-E, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, F-Y-R-E.
Yeah.
Fire spelled F-Y-R-E.
Yeah.
And this, oh my God. I mean, honestly, right? I put something on Facebook earlier today, and I said that this is the most effective disaster movie
really
that I have seen in the last couple of decades. You know how it is when you know how it is when you watch a disaster movie, and at the beginning everything is nice and wonderful, and it's look, we're in California and the sun's out and all that kind of stuff, and we only have little small things to worry about. But the earthquake is coming. The flood is coming. The fire is coming. And this film, I honestly think that the guys who made this documentary have shaped it like that. They've shaped it like that. So the Fire Festival was this thing that the first time I heard about it was in 2017. Switched on the radio and they said, there's this big festival that was supposed to be like a luxury festival. People were like, you're going to come here, you're going to hang out with supermodels, you're going to hang out with celebrities, you're going to be on this private island in the Bahamas, it's going to be great, it's going to be wonderful. And people had paid thousands of dollars to go to this thing because they were like, it's going to be exclusive, you get a private jet there, all that, you get your own luxury chalet. And people said, they'd all showed up in the Bahamas and it had just turned into a zombie movie or something because nothing that they promised was there. And this documentary is essentially, okay, how did this happen? And it is fascinating. It is absolutely fascinating because you're watching it and you're thinking, hang on a second. So this happened, that happened. What happened there? And they build it up as to how this whole started, who are the people who were involved, how could you get to the point from people looking online and saying, oh my God, this is going to be the best thing ever, to getting to the Bahamas and finding out that they were actually in, the sort of disaster relief tents that I think would have been on the news, like when Haiti
Yes.
had problems. The sort of disaster relief tents that they put
Yeah,
up because people's houses have been washed away. That was. Yeah, how do you go from come hang out with Bella Hadid and hang out with all these people and all these wonderful people and have this wonderful life that will make everybody think, oh my God, I wish I was you. How do you go from there to, oh my God, we are in a disaster relief tent that is totally soaked. that is soaked. The bed in there is soaked. They're trying to put us in on an inflatable mattress, and
you've paid thousands for this, have you?
You've paid thousands for this. And this is the film I was talking about when I was talking about how nowadays we have the whole problem of the perception of what actually is going on and the reality of it. And last year, one of my films of the year was a film called Searching, which I remember saying, which was all about social media. It was essentially a detective movie, but played out through social media. And it was, and I said I think this is the kind of film that Hitchcock would have made with social media. Yeah. And this documentary goes into that. It goes into that because you have at the beginning the musician Ja Rule and a guy called Billy McFarland, and they are talking about this new venture that they have. And it sounds good at the beginning. Everything that they're saying, you're like, this is good. This is a good business thing. And then it takes a left turn when they decide to host a festival to promote this thing, and it becomes a massive comedy of errors. And you're watching it, and because obviously it's a real life thing, you know how it ended up. You're watching it all the way going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, the disaster's coming. I know the disaster's coming. And it's so well done. It's so well edited. The people who they get to speak, they speak about it very, very frankly. There is one story about that one of the guys who was the main organizers tells about that has launched 1,000 memes about what he has to do to get water into the Bahamas for all the people who they are expecting to come, but they know they are not well equipped to actually deal with. So I would recommend watching this film, and you might be watching it through your fingers because you're going, oh my God, no. Oh my God, no.
So you can see what's coming, but they're just like.
No, the thing about it is that there's people who are involved in it who could see what was coming.
So, what would you rate Fire as, Tosin, as a documentary and as a film?
I think it's a film because every now and then a documentary comes across and it makes you realize actually documentary is a film. It's not all. I mean, it's not all David Attenborough. If you get why I mean, because I love David Attenborough, but some people sort of think, oh yeah, that's a documentary. A film is something else. But this is totally structured like a thriller. It's structured like a disaster movie. I would give this a very, very high 4.
Wow.
It's just that, there's some things that it doesn't talk about. Like I still have questions about Ja Rule, who was one of the guys who was involved with it at the beginning. He disappears for about an hour, and it seems as if there's no consequences for him as to how everything went down. There seems to be no consequences for him. He disappears around about the time it starts going bad. He shows up after it's gone bad and tries to be a CEO to sort of fix this whole thing. Which I'm like, where were you when this whole thing was?
Yeah, when it was unraveling.
Yeah, and it also there's a bit where it mentions that because when they got to the Bahamas, that all these people were sort of packed in, and quite frankly, honestly, this thing looked a little like a refugee camp. The way that they all pushed in, and they talk about how it gets all primal and things start falling apart and all that sort of stuff. And they said that some people were getting kidnapped and held to ransom because people who'd worked on the festival hadn't been paid, so they'd kidnap some of the people. But that's just like a throwaway comment. I'm like, what happened to them? Did anybody die? Did they get out alive? What happened? And
so it left you a bit short then of wondering what had happened, what had gone on.
I have questions. I mean, I'm very satisfied with the film as a whole, but I have questions. And I like the fact that it doesn't preach at you about the evils of social media. It just tells you the story and lets you fill in the gaps yourself. Because this thing became so big because of social media. And everybody saw this. Essentially, all the advertising was on social media. They went to all these people called social media influencers, said, put up a post about this thing and talk about how great it's going to be. So they go and they pay they pay like Kim Kardashian's sister, Kylie Jenner. They pay her $250,000 to put up a post saying, "I'm going to this festival." She puts it up, and then all of a sudden they sell out all their tickets, and they haven't even planned anything for the festival whatsoever. And so there's a lot of things about how do we actually take in information nowadays. I guess you could use the word fake news, but it's just about how it's like, what responsibility do people on the internet, like influencers, people who have large followings, what responsibility do they have to their followers?
Come up with a plan. Sounds a bit like Brexit, really, doesn't it? Come up with a plan and not have any idea how to do it. But there you go.
To be honest with you, there's a lot of people who are going to watch this and use it as an analogy. One of the memes that a friend sent me today actually directly references this film and Brexit. But
oh, wow.
I don't want to tell you guys anymore. You need to go watch it and just sit down with your mouth open going, what the hell? It's a very, very, very good film.
Cool.
Very good film. All right. So that's my thing. I'll give it a 4. And now we move on to a film that I'm a bit shocked about because I didn't actually know that this film was out yet. I mean, Alita Battle Angel.
Alita Battle Angel, yeah.
Okay, hang on a second. Can I just check something? Do you guys have your headphones on because I can hear myself?
Yes, I got mine on.
Yeah, they're plugged in.
They're plugged in. They're all plugged in. We're all plugged in.
Okay, cool. Okay, no problem. I could just hear an echo of myself. All right, cool. Okay. So, Alita Battle Angel. Shaun, go.
Yes, Alita Battle Angel. Okay, this story is based on a manga story. A lot of these manga films, a lot of these anime films, they haven't transitioned very well to the movies. So a lot of people are expecting
at least to the American movies.
At least the American movies, yeah. But this sticks pretty much to the anime version, and it's basically a story about you've got Christopher Waltz. He's sort of looking around a junkyard, and
him again.
Yeah. Look, he pops up, and he finds this sort of head of a girl, and he puts a body on her, and she becomes. I'm not going to give too many plots away because it's probably best. I'm not going to give a lot of spoilers here. All I'm going to say is some great things about this movie. You have got lots of cameos by people. There's loads of cameos. Okay. Yep. Sorry,
John. I just feel like I need to point out that this body of a girl that he finds is actually an android body.
It's an android body. Yeah. So So he basically he puts on, to start off with at the start of the film, he puts on one body. Yeah. And she's just really, really like aggressive, and she just wants to get involved in this because she's from a distant past. She's from a distant past, and there's like two worlds. There's this world at the bottom.
Is it set in the future?
It's set in the future, yeah. It's set in fact, I think that when it comes up, it comes, the 26th Century Fox or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But it's quite well done with the opening credits. And so you've got this big like city that is held up by massive cables. Yeah. And then you've got a lower, I guess you call it a lower city where there's, lots of strange things going on. You've got bounty hunters, and you've got this big game that if you get into the big game, you can actually go up to if you win, if you go for all these championships, you go through all these games.
Is it a bit like Ready Player One then in that regard?
There is a bits of Ready Player One in there, yeah, but there is, it's similar to that, like this game thing, bit like Rollerball. So basically this girl, there's also obviously a young boy in it, so it's for the teen audience as well, sort of thing, there's
Is he also
how
would you describe her? Cyborg?
Cyborg. Ooh. What? Yeah, like a cyborg. Yeah, I would say cyborg.
Yeah, cyborg.
Basically, cyborgs, and there's some. There's some other. Anyway, so she's got this first body that Christopher Waltz puts on, and she finds this other body, which was obviously her body. And I'm going to go into spoilers if I'm not careful. Yeah. So all I'm going to say I'm going to cut out the spoilers. And I'm just going to say that it's a really, really good movie. The performances are really, really good. The CGI is not too bad. You think it would be awful. It's just action all the way through. I really, really liked her as well. Really,
because her look is slightly other, isn't it? She's human, but there's something that's just not right. Her eyes are too big, and her features aren't quite right to be
quite right. Yeah,
to pass as completely human.
It's that. What do they call that? What's that thing like Gollum? They do motion capture. Motion capture.
Yeah.
So it's obviously that. But this, I mean, there's action sequences and there's violence, and Alita herself, I think, is played really, really well because although she hasn't got much of a memory, she's just really, really aggressive, and she really knows what she wants, and she's not like soppy. She's not, she is obviously in the past has been something. She's a battle angel. She is. This is what she does. She is so cool. And the action sequences just really, really class. Real super, like.
Okay.
Punching, kicking.
Yeah. It's great. Loads in this. It's quite nasty as well. Quite visceral, I would say. So
maybe not so much slapping.
I'm quite happy to hear that. I'm quite happy to hear that because I know James Cameron has been trying to make this film for decades, but he keeps getting busy by directing films that become the highest grossing movies of all time. Blah 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 blah. But it's some of the trailers I looked at, and my main problem was like the CGI. I wasn't sure that the mix worked.
I agree, but if you think, I mean, the actual game, when they're playing the game, CGI can be awful, as we know from like Transformers and all that, and you can just don't see what's going on. But I'm glad you brought this up because the game, which is very much smash, crash, all that, when she's in the game, it's really, really good. You can actually things happen, and it's not just wham, because you see Transformers movies, it's like bang, bang, bang. What's going on? In this, you actually see what's going on. You actually see what happens to some of the players and what goes on. So you actually see. So for me, this actually works because I'm funny with CGI, but this CGI in this actually works really, really well. So
because I'll tell you what you have to answer this for me because I know her. She's pretty much been designed like an anime character, like Sharon was saying, big eyes and all that kind of stuff, eyes that take up half her face. But for me, it was more the characters because the whole idea is that people have started modifying their bodies with cybernetics in this world. So there's a character played by Ed Skrein where the only bit of him that's pretty much human is his head, and the rest of his body is like metal. And that look, when I saw it, I was like, that just looks weird. So you say even that one works.
Yeah, there was a couple of things in it that didn't look that looked a bit odd. I mean, there's a particular weapon that Christopher Waltz has got, and I guess it's like a little bit of a hammer, really. That was a bit odd. That was a bit. You thought, well, but I think
Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
A bit of a thing, possibly, yeah. But I think probably might have been different in the anime one. But it just looked really a bit too awkward and cumbersome for that type of thing.
And often sometimes the positioning of the fingers or the stressing on the finger that doesn't look quite right. So you're thinking, you're not holding anything of any weight just because of the way your fingers are shaped.
Yeah.
I think you've got to get that sort of thing right, haven't you, before it works?
Yeah. So there are a couple of things with it, but it was a really, really enjoyable experience for me. I was really, really surprised because I was thinking, what's this going to be like? And like you say, from the trailer, you think, loads of CGI, and there is CGI, but the CGI in this works, I think.
Okay.
I mean, from a personal point of view.
Okay, I've got a final question.
Yes.
So, how did you get to see this? Because this isn't released yet. Was this like a sneak preview or something?
Well, it was on yesterday. It came out yesterday.
Really?
And it was at Cineworld. I went to see it at Cineworld yesterday. And I saw the 3D version. So, and there were 3 or 4 performances, and it's on. So, I mean,
so it wasn't
I just assumed
a special screening then.
It didn't seem special screening. There was one in the afternoon, and there was like 3 3D performances and 2 2D performances. So it was on all during the day and stuff. So
I need to go have a word with my representative at the Nuneaton Odeon.
Oh, right. Well, there you go.
You guys suck.
I mean, normally Cineworld, it's awful for getting things like that. But this is like what's going on? When I saw it, I was like, wow, I'm going to see that because I look forward to that, and also it'll give me something to talk about today. So so I saw the 8:30 performance last night. Yeah, it was good.
All right. Yeah, I'm planning to go see that this weekend, so I'm glad.
Oh, good. Well, you can review it as well. Let me know what you think. I hope I haven't hyped it too much for you. But
not at all.
So with Star Wars, I'm going to give this one a 4-star.
Okay.
4-star. Because, Christopher Waltz's weapon. So I'm going to give this a 4-star.
all in all, a great week.
Yes, a great week.
All right, cool. And Shaun, we come back to you to finish us off.
We do.
So this is pretty much at the moment it's neck and neck between Netflix and cinema. It is honestly.
It all comes down to this one.
Comes down to this one.
It all comes down to this one, Shaun.
So well, here we go. This one, you can tell I'm excited, can't you? I mean, it's been a good week this week after weeks of not much. We've got these great things. So okay, right.
Okay, so this is something that you were talking about last week, and
That's
you were
right.
talking about how much you wanted to go watch this.
Right.
So now you've watched it. Let us know about it.
Okay. Yes, this series there's 6 episodes. So I watched all 6 episodes because that was the rules. I really enjoyed watching 6 episodes. I think I watched 4 in a row, had a cup of coffee, came back, watched the other 2. This is just fantastic, really. It not necessarily even be a zombie movie. It could be a dynasty movie. It could be, like one of those big samurai movies and all that. The scenery is fantastic. There's lots of intrigue. Basically, the story is there's a crown prince, and obviously his dad, they think his dad's died, the king has died, but he's sort of the people, the queen and her father and the councillors, they sort of say, no, he's still alive, and there's these things that go on. I won't put too much spoilers on it, but what I loved about this is how it spreads. How it spreads is just absolute. You know me, and I mean, even people say, "Oh, it's a fantasy film, Shaun. Why do you get funny about things like this, that, and the other?" But this is it's just so clever, just so works how the disease spreads.
Even fantasy has to make sense,
and it does make sense, and it even goes down. Yeah. Go on then, Toes. What are you going to ask me?
I just had a couple of questions. So first of all, is this sort of set in ancient times? So like Game of Thrones.
It's sort of no. It's set in Korea, so it's a Korean. Yeah. Hence why I watched those Korean films early on. Around about the 15th, 16th century. So sort of like medieval. So you've still got like the big swords, very very samurai, but obviously. I should imagine it's really from the little bit I know, because I mean there was big battles, and they do mention the war with Japan and that because there was always lots of conflict between them. And, I mean one of the characters in it was obviously a terrific general that beat the Japanese, whatever. So it's all so it's in that historical and on about historical things. They have got matchlock muskets, which were about in that period, matchlock muskets. And they even, I mean, when they do come into play, those things, the guy who's got it is absolutely brilliant because they've obviously got to rush up, but he makes sure his matches are like they used to have a little bit of rope because they're obviously matchlocks where they have to fire the pan. And it's just right down to that fine detail. And I was like, oh, wow, actually, he didn't just pick up a gun and go pull. He actually loaded it and he actually had to get stuff and he actually had to, and it was just really, really good.
You're like, there's nobody walking around with a machine gun.
No, that's it. But I mean,
blasting 5 or 6 rounds.
He's actually having to, and although he's good, he's not, and with the little whip where he has to blow to fire off the gunpowder.
It's still going to be 1 round a minute or something.
So there's those bit, and anyway, let's go back to the story. I'm going to calm down. I'm going to calm down, and I'm going to tell you the story.
Okay, cool. Okay,
I'll calm down a little bit.
15. So we know 15th, 16th century Korea. And zombies. So the disease you were talking about is zombies, essentially.
So, it's basically zombies. Now, we've seen all the zombies, haven't we? We've seen fast zombies and slow zombies and fat zombies and all stuff like that. This, I think this is, if zombies can be original, this is really, because they're like, they only come out at night. And they're like hordes, and they're just like rushing around. But as soon as
I Am Legendy type.
Yes, as soon as they're any sun or anything, they're like cockroaches. They all hide like that, and they all become a big mass. They all become like a big mass, and they're totally inanimate. And if you could go and find them, you could kill them all. So, and that's basically, like some people come and they find this big mass of what they think are dead bodies, and we've got people saying these will come back to life. They're going to be so stupid. Don't be so stupid. They won't. We're just gonna bury them. You know what I mean?
You've never seen Zombieland? Double tap.
Yeah, double tap. The double tap. Yeah. So that's not in there. But during all this, you've also got this sort of dynastic struggle going on, and all these other different characters. So
that fits in with Korean history as well as adding this element of fantasy.
And it is like a dynastic film, and you find out you've got this really, really. I mean, she's quite attractive, but she's quite a bitchy, nasty queen. You know
Isn't
what I mean?
that
And her
always
dad.
the way?
Yeah, it's always the way. So it's like and she's pregnant. So they want
just to add that
they
to
want
the
because
mix.
if when the boy's born or when the hope is a boy is born, that obviously the crown prince will have to go, he'd be killed, and this he will become straight up and become king. The boy child will be, so this family will be in charge.
So you need a regent.
You need a regent, yes. So obviously you've got this bit of a struggle going on. Lucky enough, the crown prince managed to shoot off because he wanted to find out what was going on. So you've got this, yeah.
Okay.
Well, 6 episodes of Goings On. It sounds.
It's Goings
Are
On.
they
Yeah.
1 hour episodes or?
They are. Yeah, they're 1 hour episodes.
So about 6 hours. So it's 6 episodes. 6 hours
episodes.
of.
And yeah.
So you would recommend it?
Oh yes, I would. I think this is I'm totally. I mean, I had no problem with it. They do a few flashbacks now and again, and I think the thing is with Korean films, when they do flashbacks, they don't really explain that too well. You just think, oh, that's suddenly gone back to. But it works in this. For me, it did. It works in this. And you can either watch it dubbed or subtitles. I mean, I watched it subtitles because...
Yeah, I'm not keen on dubbed films because you always think, I'm sure that's not how you really sound.
Yeah, exactly.
Dubbed. I don't like dubbed.
But for... oh God, I had so much I wanted to say about this because there's just so much in it. It's just great. And as I say, it's beautifully shot. You've got the big scenes like you would in the Kurosawa movies, with lots of...
describe it as a
sumptuous movie. Yeah, there are sumptuous times in it, but it's just how the whole thing works and it comes together, and also they have to learn. So obviously, like there is that trope that you have to decapitate them or burn them or get rid of the head, but it takes some time to find that. You know what I mean? It's not like they just think by plunging a sword in their belly or something that that's going to do it, but and then they're surprised when it doesn't. You think, I've done this, and it's not. So there's that finding out process as well of what you actually have to do. You have to do, and
all that comes down to this. Yeah. What do you rate it?
Is that right? So on the ratings now, yeah, okay. Well, you can no doubt guess. I think for me, this is like major 5. I'm sorry. I love this. I
That's
really,
the first 5
really
of the
love
year.
this. I really, really, really enjoyed this. Totally enjoyed this series. I couldn't stop watching it.
All right. Okay, that is good. That is good to know, Shaun. And I think this is the kind of thing because it's a Netflix original, and this is you know how I said last week about how I keep looking at cinema and I keep thinking long term you have a problem. I think long term you're out of it because this is something that it's Korean. Netflix made it. I think it was all made in Korea, and if they were going to try and get that over to cinemas over here, it would be such a faff and it would be such a long-winded thing. Whereas they could just go and say, "Yep, cool, that's it, it's done." People on the other side of the world, hey, you've shown interest in Southeast Asian stuff. Here's something else that you might like.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I think if they could, if Netflix, with home entertainment systems, that would this series would so transform well to a major screen, big screen. I could, in fact, it's even making me tempted to have a major, just
to get a video projector and just do the whole wall.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Paint it white and where you go.
But what I mean, the costumes and everything is, and the way the story weaves, and it's such a great concept of the way the disease is spread. I think that's brilliant. And so, zombie films are zombie films, but there's a lot that's quite original in this.
Cool.
Okay, I remember when, ages ago, when the American House of Cards started on Netflix. And I remember thinking, you know what? This show alone is worth my Netflix fee. It sounds like that's what you're feeling like right now.
Yeah, I should probably watch this again. I'm pretty sure I should watch it again because, we're flicking through some photos now and, you're going to watch this, aren't you, Sharon?
Yes,
you need to watch
certainly.
it even if you want to watch it with me,
Yeah.
So,
and it's fight off one of my brothers to get possession of the remote. It's
very colourful and it's very visual and, it's really, really, it just works,
All right.
Works.
Awesome. Okay, so we have gone to the end of the show, and all that is left to do is to figure out who has won this week. So, Shaun, with your enthusiasm and your love for Kingdom, have you tipped the scales? It should come as
Possibly.
no surprise. It should come as no surprise to know that it was neck and neck all the way. But the winner this week is
Netflix.
Oh.
It has to be on the strength of Yeah,
literally on the strength of Kingdom this week, because we had How to Train Your Dragon 3 stars, Extinction 3 stars, Can You Forgive Me 4 stars, Fire 4 stars, Alita Battle Angel 4 stars, Kingdom 5 stars.
Wow.
Giving Netflix an average of 4 and Cinema an average of 3.6.
Wow.
Well, 3.7 to round it up.
Still quite close.
It's quite close though. Still close, isn't it?
It's still close. I mean, this was a good week. I don't think we watched anything we absolutely hated.
No, it was a good week. It was a good week for me. I enjoyed this week. I saw some good stuff. So yeah.
Cool, good stuff. All right. So I think all that's really left to say is thank you for listening. Thank you for surviving this long. Go watch one of these things and let us know on Twitter at Netflix versus Cinema, so Netflix vs Cinema, and let us know what you thought. Let us know if you think we're talking total rubbish, or if you think, hang on a second, they might have a point, and let us know what you thought as well. And please, I mean, just what I will tell you is go watch Fire and hold your head in your hands.
Okay.
Hold your head in your hands. But until then, it's goodbye from me.
Yep.
And goodbye for me.
And goodbye from me.
See you guys next week.
See you later. Bye now.